Welcome to the Balanced Ambition podcast. I'm your host, Matt Southam. Here, we delve into candid conversations with entrepreneurs, exploring both their business journey and their secrets to maintaining mental well-being. As we navigate the balance of ambition and inner peace, I hope you find insights, inspiration, and invaluable takeaways in every episode. Thank you for joining us. Hi, David. Welcome to the show. I want to kick off by just asking you, what was the reason that you started your business? And explain what it is that you do.
All right. Hi. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. So Staple is a clothing brand which specializes in wardrobe staples. And what we do is we take everyday essentials, so t-shirts, sweaters, shirts, and we re-engineer them, redesign them. We focus on the quality and the fit, the fabric of each product, as well as the ethical sourcing side of it. So what we've done is created one capsule collection of ethical basics, which have been made from world-class fabrics and tailored expertly by our tailor he trained on Savile Row, and he's designed our collection. And the last thing is that we price our products accessibly so that people can afford to buy into slow fashion as opposed to being priced out of it, which is what happens now. So we believe that nobody should have to choose between paying the rent or shopping at ethical brands. And so we figured that it's quite difficult to find that on the market. So we are going to create that for the market.
And, talk me through that. I've seen you say saying, make every day exceptional. And I guess, you're talking about everyday items that we all wear constantly. What do other brands just almost dismiss that and just don't have that quality that you're striving for?
So it's not that other brands dismiss that. It's that their focus is on other product lines. So the staples kind of get forgotten or left out or become a kind of like an afterthought. So it's not that they don't care about them. It's that it's not their focus. So when we say make everyday exceptional, it's about taking the everyday items and actually focusing on the everyday. So that's why we use the fabrics, the tailor, and we create a collection, because the everyday aspect is that they're with us every day and they're what we wear most often, as opposed to those big ticket items which are worn maybe once every 3 weeks. So it's about just making every day exceptional, as opposed to having a slightly worse day because in a month something good might happen.
Yeah.
So that's why we say make every day exceptional.
Yeah, and I guess as a business owner, actually, while you're talking about clothing and you're looking after those everyday bits, actually within business, it's very easy to get caught up on some massive sort of things, but actually, sometimes the daily tasks are the most important. Does that sort of analogy fit with you?
Yeah, 100%. It's about just keeping focused on what's important all of the time, and for us, that is how clothes are made, what they're made from, and who makes them, and how they're treated. So it's very easy, like you said in business, to just focus on that big project, and then you get to the end of the week and you've got loads of small things coming up. You have to play a bit of whack-a-mole, as opposed to having one clear run at work efficiency. So it applies to business as well. It applies everywhere. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Take me right back then. So when did you first become a business owner? When did that entrepreneurial spirit come through?
So first business was in 2014. I had a construction services agency till about 2018. And what we did was we spoke to builders and suppliers, and the builder would call us and we would arrange the logistics and the delivery of everything on site. So instead of the builder calling direct to the supplier, they would call to me.
Okay, yeah, and then you'd arrange it. So what was the reason that came to an end and you moved on to something else?
So Brexit made that time period quite tough because a lot of the builders went home and suppliers really got affected quite negatively. So it's a credit-based business, and they were much harsher on credit controls, and it was quite difficult to grow. And then a lot of builders just they left the UK. So it was just like the market became much more difficult, and it was just time. Sometimes it was just time to wind it down. So we just took that decision to wind it down at that time.
Yeah. And then was Staples the next venture then sort of shortly after that?
Yeah, so Staples started about a month after that
Okay,
because I saw
straight in.
no waiting around. Because especially with fashion, with a clothing brand, the planning stage does take a long time because of how it works with ordering samples of what you're selling, plus actually creating the brand. Um, Everything takes quite a while. So it wasn't like a month after we made our first sale, but that was when the planning started to start.
Yeah. I often ask these people who have got sort of, launching something that's an e-com or a product base. What did it feel like that first sale?
Oh, it feels amazing because it's just so much hard work goes behind the scenes. Um, it's kind of like how do I explain it? You know, you have in the sea, you have mountains that stick out the top. You only see the top, but
Yeah.
you don't see the bottom. And there's quite a lot underneath the surface. So I'd say it's exactly like that. So just having all that hard work, even though it looks like just a t-shirt and it's just a sale, but having all that work come to fruition is really nice. It's a really
Yeah.
accomplished feeling.
And what was that journey like between that sort of initial idea of, right, this is what we're going to do, to actually getting those products ready and ready for sale? Was it fairly smooth sailing, or were there a few hiccups along the way?
So originally I had a recommendation from a friend to use a manufacturer based in Los Angeles. And from the beginning, we decided to go down the slow fashion ethical route because it was so important to us. And so I spoke to the guy who was in charge of the factory, and he told us about the fabric's amazing, the factory, yeah, we only employ people who are fairly paid, and you tick all those boxes. We're like, great. So for the first 6 to 12 months, the whole plan was based around working with a manufacturer from Los Angeles, and that was going into all of our business plan, into our brand, and it was that Los Angeles was the focus. It's quite a
Yeah.
cool city. It's got a nice ring to it, and also it's got quality products there as well. And so then I went to visit the factory just before to put in the product order because I just wanted to see it. And we got there, and it was completely not what he had told us it was. So he had no facility there. The garments were going to be sewed in Mexico. Just various different things. The sample he showed me felt like, when you have the outside of a bandage, that feeling.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be pure cotton, which is just like, it's like the top level of cotton. So it's soft, it's amazing, it feels silky smooth, and his felt like a bandage. So I said, what's going on here? And he goes, no, it needs to be dyed. I'm going to dye it for you. Come back tomorrow. So we came back tomorrow, the next day, and he handed me a t-shirt that just smelled of gas, like gasoline. And it just, nothing was right. The production, the fabric, the style, everything. So we had to completely scrap that part of our journey. So it's like quite a long, it was like we were this close to putting in a product order. So it was
Yeah.
quite a long road. And then we had to kind of go back to the drawing board and go find a new supplier, start again. And that obviously, that was a bit of a hiccup. And
Yeah. Well,
then,
also, I mean, how did that feel at that time? Because also you're away from home, and and you're quite a long way from home. And I sometimes find that issues can almost seem bigger when suddenly you're in a different area, different environment, and you're suddenly like, everything I've put in over the last sort of 12 months. Ah, how did that feel?
um, well, luckily, I have three excellent partners. And so that's why I say to people the value of a good partnership is so integral to a business, because we kind of saw it as like between the four of us, I was quite despondent, and I was like, what are we going to do? And the other three were like, we'll just go find another supplier. We'll just do the same thing again. We've not given the guy any money. It's a learning curve. Now we know what to look for, who to speak to. We've learned a lot. So sometimes the lesson itself is actually worth it. So
Mm.
you could go to university for 10 years and never learn that lesson.
No.
So for a cost of an airline flight to Los Angeles, which isn't a terrible place to be stuck anyway.
No.
The cost of an airline flight to Los Angeles was a lesson well learned. And having 3 partners as well, with they're very clear and operate very well, meant that we didn't then rush into the next thing because we had to hit a deadline. It's like, okay, we'll go work on something else until the product's ready. So
Yeah.
it was a hiccup, but it's like I said, it's all about how you deal with hiccups that actually make them into a big issue or a small issue.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's reframing the problem, isn't it? Like say, you know, maybe at first that was like, oh no, what are we going to do? But actually it's okay, we're just going to get another supplier. And while it's
Yeah,
starting a process again, actually it was much better you learnt then than
yeah,
before or then after placing a massive order.
exactly. And then that also taught me the value of going to a trade show and just meeting the people you're actually going to be dealing with before you have these conversations, and don't allow people to lead you down the road because they're going to get paid. And that is another thing that I learned. So
Yeah.
he's very enthusiastic about me putting in an order, whereas at the beginning I was quite new to the whole game. I thought, oh, he really wants us to succeed, but in actual fact, he just wants us to pay it.
Yeah.
So understanding how to navigate through that sort of issue is also really valuable, I found.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, any hiccup, as we've referred to it there, as long as you learn something from it, actually that's part of business.
Exactly. I just believe that there's nothing is good and nothing is bad until the whole thing's played out.
Yeah, I
So
like
you just
that.
Eric.
Yeah, and you obviously, I mean, you say the whole thing's played out that process from start to finish. So eventually, you did find another supplier. So talk me through that journey.
Okay, so I figured that the best way to go and find the product is actually going to find the product, and not just Googling it and calling people up, because Google's amazing for information about what you need, but for different things, it's not that great. So I went to a trade show, and Peruvian Pima cotton is the best type of Pima cotton. So Pima cotton's like, you have Egyptian cotton.
Yeah.
So it's all to do with the length of the fibers. So ELS is extra long staple cotton, basically. That's what
Okay.
it means. So the longer the fibers, the more resilient, softer, the longer it lasts, and just the more quality you'll feel in the actual product. So when you go and buy a t-shirt, it says 100% cotton,
Yeah.
and it doesn't exactly work as cotton should, and you're like, but it's 100% cotton. That's just because there's a scale, and Pima cotton is at the top of the cotton scale. And
Okay.
Peruvian Pima cotton is the best because the growing conditions in Peru are the best for that type of cotton. So I spoke to a few fabric specialists, and they just said to me, go look for Peruvian Pima. So I just went to a trade show with a list of Peruvian. I was just like, I need to find Peruvian Pima. And
Yeah.
I met a guy at the trade show called Juan, who, when you see something and you're like, bang, that's it.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. I walked around the corner. I just saw he had a t-shirt hanging. And I was like, okay, cool. That's the t-shirt we need. And so then when I touched it and engaged with it, I really felt the quality. And meeting him face to face also enabled me to establish a connection with him and also understand him as a person, whether he was going to be like the first guy, whether he was going to be like the person I was actually looking for. And thankfully it was option B. So we got ordering samples with him. And then after about 4 or 5 samples, we were happy with the fit of the t-shirt, and we were happy with his production because his factory is RAP certified, which basically just means that he's using responsible labor practices. People are being paid fairly. There's progression within the company as well for people, so that they can start working in the factory, and then they provide English lessons for people who work there 2 or 3 times a week, so they can progress and then leave that world and go just a level up if they want to.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've been burnt once by a guy who told me this stuff about his factory. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I need to go see it. So I booked a 2-week trip to Peru with my brother, and we went and visited the factory. And when we were happy with what we saw and how it was operating, then we put the product order in.
Nice. So I'm sort of sensing here, you've been really focused actually on ensuring that the quality matches exactly what you're saying. So almost like, yeah, my background's in marketing and I always say about marketing messaging, but actually then
Yeah,
every touch point is meeting what your messaging is. You're saying you're ethical, you're saying that it's the highest quality. And it's not just enough for you to say that. You have actually gone out and ensured that it is the best quality, that there are ethical practices, and that all of that's coming. So that's sort of like a real, I guess, attention to detail. And was that one of your
yeah.
aims, that the business should have that?
Our aim is to be authentic, because in a world of that we live in today, authenticity is quite hard to come by.
Mm,
And the way we want to differentiate ourselves from other brands is that we're actually an authentic brand, and what we say is factual.
yeah,
And it comes back to the fact that what we're trying to do is provide a brand for people that just want to look good and feel good without
yeah,
having to waste too much time into digging into it just because they don't have enough time. So it's like, I've got a really busy day. I don't need to choose between the 3 different prints on my t-shirt. I just want something that's nice that will look good. And the main thing is it will last as well. So people will buy it and it will last again and again and again and again and again. And yeah, that authenticity is something we're really trying to project, because I feel that's what's missing in fashion, especially.
yeah. And how do you find, how are you finding running a business? I mean, it is a fairly sort of, startup type business in what is a
Yeah.
competitive market, certainly competing with, the fast fashion industry. That's not your
Yeah.
competition, but of course, people you're selling to have probably had that experience in the past. So how do
Yeah.
you find operating in that space?
So it's definitely competitive, that's for sure. Um, but one of the things that I like about the competitiveness is it just forces us to be better. So
Mm,
it's not like it's not like we can just turn up, say we've got this, and expect the whole world to buy our stuff, because that's just not how it works. But
no.
I like that the competition kind of brings out the good sides in our brand, and we
Yeah.
learn a lot whilst it's. And business is also about learning as well, I find. So it's about meeting interesting people, and just as you go and you put more and more time into it, just meeting people from all different ways of life, all different cultures, getting to understand how things work. When we write blog posts, we look into the history of the garments as well. It's just
Yeah.
really nice to learn about the history of what we're doing, as well as the contemporary styles that we're creating and bringing to the market. And it's also finding out what people like and what people don't like, and providing people with a bit more than just a clothing brand as well. It's about providing people that positivity, because you also never know how far a positive word can go on or an email with something a bit informative on it that people are like, and it's like, oh, nice, cool. And you can really elevate people's days through that. And as much as I enjoy that side of it as well as the clothing side of it, because as a fashion brand, you kind of have scope to really what's the word I'm looking for? You can put out information on all different sorts of things whilst it still stays on brand. So I really like that part of it as well. That's something I
Yeah, I
really
get,
enjoy.
you said something there, you never know what that sort of positive word and how far it's going to travel and things like that. And actually, you're right there. Down to the garments we wear can make such a big difference to almost how
Huge
our
difference.
day is. You know,
Exactly. And being able to provide that experience for people is something that really speaks to me and the other
yeah,
founders as well. That's
yeah.
why we
I
want
mean,
to
I
be a
know
bit more. Yep.
if we feel comfortable in ourselves, and I don't just mean within our skin, but actually what will we wear is often an expression of us. And if we can feel comfortable, then we're much more likely to be the true self, our true self, and therefore I think you just work better, you perform better, whether you work for yourself or working for someone. I think the more comfortable we feel in ourselves, the happier and better we perform.
Yeah, exactly. Nail on the head. And then another challenge we had was that our range at the beginning was just t-shirts, because looking for an ethical supplier just takes a long time, and COVID
Yeah.
happened, and changed everything. So we recently added Oxford shirts and then these sweaters as well to our range, and so it's nice to have winter products for this winter.
Yeah.
Because selling t-shirts in the UK in the winter is not, it's not everyone's top of everyone's Google search list. So
No,
um,
no. No, they're just
not
a layer that's hidden, aren't they? Often. So yeah, adding those up. You said that COVID changed everything. Talk me through that. Why was that?
So with the factories, because we only use a specific factory because their quality is so good and so
Yeah,
nice. So we only use a specific factory for our sweaters and t-shirts because they don't make Oxford shirts. So Oxford shirts is from somewhere else. But the sweaters that we sampled before COVID and we had set on were made from a specific fabric. Once COVID hit, they were unable to source that fabric that we'd started with.
right.
And so that kind of extended to the shirts as well, because we use an Italian manufacturer, but they had the same problems. It was kind of like a global wide shared
Mm,
issue by everyone, that because there were slowdowns in production in different countries, uh, it was difficult to get that supply for the fabric. And
yeah,
then factories are like everyone else; they're going to go. Their biggest client is going to get served first. So
yeah,
as a startup, you're always going to be put to the bottom of the production list because
yeah,
they just have a finite amount of resources. Um, but luckily, the factory that we work with, they're just they're really accommodating and they really value us. So luckily, they put us in the middle. So we were still able to get the sweaters, but not. It took a bit longer. Um, and so other factories are not going to put us on that list, so they give us much longer lead times to get new products.
yeah. What
So
you
that's
know, you've gone through quite the journey here from your initial supplier not actually being up to scratch through to now actually adding other products. What what do you wish you'd known at the start when you were setting out that you know now about the industry or about business?
what is one thing I would have known about from the start, that it's just the importance of distribution and how important your distribution channels, um, how important they are. I mean, I know it sounds quite obvious, but sometimes it's best to have your distribution channels set up and then activate your product order as opposed to the other way around. Because then you're, let's say, ordering 100 to go here, 200 to go there. Um, so that's one of the things that I would have become a bit more knowledgeable in before we started. But I don't think we would have done much differently, I would say. I think
No.
because we're quite calculated and how we operate is quite structured, everything's always looked at with a few different eyes, and we take people's opinions into account, and then we make the move. Because within fashion, it's so easy to lose so much money. Like, it's
Mm,
really easy. There's a lot of sharks out there that if they see you coming is a bit of like, if you're slightly inexperienced, they will take advantage of that.
yeah.
So my advice to anyone would be, if you're going to do something like this, like staple, just do it really slowly and don't allow anyone's opinion to influence how quickly you get.
No.
Because
Do
a
it
lot of
in
people,
your own time.
yeah, a lot of people will tell you have to do this. You have to give 1,000 different things to 1,000 different influencers. And what do you mean you're doing this, and all this sort of talk that you hear from people? And usually they mean well as well. They just don't really understand how the industry works. So I
Mm.
would say just move slowly at your own time, because it's your money that is being invested, no one else's.
Yeah. Yeah, actually that's a really good way to sort of focus the mind on, staying true to what you're trying to achieve when actually you've got a financial sort of commitment to it. So between you and the
Yeah,
funder, between you and your founders and your colleagues, is that how you funded the business? Between you all jumped in.
yeah, we all jumped in and we got like a small investment at the beginning. But in terms of in the future, for the terms of future investment, um, we do enjoy bootstrapping And the advice I was given, which I really like, is that you just bootstrap until the day that you can no longer possibly bootstrap, because then
Yeah.
you understand your processes better. The more time you spend bootstrapping, the more you understand how to spend money, which is a really important part of it.
Yeah.
Uh, It's
Yeah.
like you'll get emails every day. Each person will tell you why their thing is the most important way to spend your money. So, do you work with email? This is only this amount of money. Or do you work with TikTok? Or do you work with YouTube? Or do you work with Instagram ads or Facebook ads? So it's just about not getting carried away with that, just doing as much stuff as you can on your own. And then
Yeah.
once you've done that, once you've got your processes built properly, then go and look for funding, do like a friends and family round or something. But
Yeah.
I always say to people, there's a lot to go before looking for investment.
Yeah, try and do as much as you can. And bootstrapping, I agree. I think can be particularly important to, really understanding your business and going through that process. I think actually, why it can be challenging at
Yeah.
times. Actually, I think in the long term, it's probably the more authentic and better way to do it.
Yeah, I think you build a really rock solid foundation when you do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So just the podcast called Balanced Ambition, and clearly you've been ambitious from the start. You've been ethical, but you've taken this process through from idea through to actually launching a brand and developing several different products. What do you do outside of business? How do you stop it being all consuming? Because I'm very aware, certainly that first year, it's easy. Just the only thing you think about is work and business. What do you do to try and escape that and just have a bit of your own time?
I like to relax with or chill out with people who don't talk about business. I
Okay.
find it's
Yeah.
really I find, I find it's really healthy to retain a core group of friends that aren't in any way related to your business life. So you don't
Mm,
work with them, you don't raise money from them, you do nothing business related with them. And then when you go and you see each other, you have a real release of just like uh, it's a real way to relax. And I
yeah.
find that just assigning some time to just not not worry or not think or not do anything business related is just how you can you can achieve a lot whilst you're at work, because we've all got brains and everyone's brain has a limit of how much they can think about something. And the more you push that, if you get to the end line, you just burn out and you can't really focus. And if you lose focus, then after about a week or two, suddenly there's a lot of fires to put out. So for me, it's just about finding those people that you can just relax with, have a good time with, nothing business related with. No one's going to think better of you for more sales or worse of you for not making any sales. And you can just go and enjoy yourself and just make sure to have fun, like clean fun, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I've-
not too many crazy nights out because you've had such a long week. I need to release the stress, Just take it easy. That's what I would
yeah.
say. When you're
Yeah.
not find take it easy.
I really like that, having a group of friends who actually are completely disconnected from the business. And when I say they don't care, you almost deliberately want them not to care. This isn't about work or the business. You just want to be mates like you were in the playground at school and just
Exactly.
easy hanging, no other worries,
Yeah,
no stress. Take me back to those easy days.
exactly. And then it's I think it's important to also not to it's also important to not necessarily go out on like a really heavy night out, because the next day you're in a bit of a funk. Whereas when you have good clean fun with your friends and you come back and the next day it's just easy to keep going. So I would say
Yeah.
that running a business means you have to take a bit more responsibility just in general across the board and not push things too hard in too many places. But it's about having good. It's just about taking it easy, having good fun, and
Yeah.
enjoying the process. I would say.
Enjoying the process. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that because
I-
business it's a journey, isn't it?
yeah. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days, and you just that's what you signed up for.
Yeah. What do you, how do you deal with those bad days? Because I was
So
often told, no, sorry for interrupting, like the highs are higher,
yeah,
but the lows are lower. And often, yeah, when running your own business. And I think that can be quite true. So take me through a day that has been a bad day, and how do you get back into that frame of mind to actually be able to have a good day again?
um, in my opinion, the best way to get over a bad day is to really internalize the bad day, but not in like a depressing not like a depressing kind of way. Um, but I just mean if something bad has happened, don't just decide to push it off and go out and have a release of stress or do something that is just in the moment. Just accept it, internalize it, and as like I said, nothing's good or bad until it's played out. So you could have had a massive high, which you think is a high, but then 3 days later, it's turned out that actually it wasn't such a high. Or you could have a
Mm.
bad day that like when you just look at it, understand that the situation's not played out, learn from it, value it, and just if you can, if it's something you did, then try and not do it again. And if
Yeah.
it's something that you couldn't, it's something that you couldn't avoid happening to you, then just be positive about it and just put a smile on. Everything's different with a smile. Just smile
Yeah.
about it. Try and find something funny. Just try and find something funny about it. Or call up a friend and just shout on the phone for 5, 10 minutes about it. And you'll find that after 5, 10 minutes of you ranting about it on the phone, that actually it's not that bad. And
No.
the most important thing for me is staying healthy, staying positive, and for me, that's how I get through bad moments. Just
Yeah.
staying positive. It's not that bad, and that's it. Tomorrow's a new day, and if you need to go to bed, go to bed always.
Yeah. There's that saying, isn't there, that, it'll be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, then it's not the end. And,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that,
And like I said,
that
sometimes it's
bit,
about looking at yourself and understanding why it didn't go right, because chances are it's something you did. And if you can fix that, then that's like you feel quite positive, more positive about the situation because you're doing something about it.
yeah.
Yeah, any bad day that I've had or any bad thing I've had, if I've really looked at the situation and understood where I messed up, I usually find somewhere that I'm like, okay, cool, this didn't just happen.
No. So you can then internalize that, work out what you could do differently in the future, and learn from it, which is
Exactly.
all we can really
You
do.
just you have to be honest with yourself because you don't have to be honest with yourself to other people, but you have to be honest with yourself sometimes and just understand where your limitations are. You can't do everything. You're not gonna, we're all limited. We're all human, and
Yeah.
if your limitations have got in the way of something, well, then what did you expect? It's not your fault. It's just you're limited,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. But at
that's
least
it.
once you know that, then you can deal with it. But I
Yeah,
think, yeah, if
exactly.
you're blocking it out and you're not truthful to yourself, then that problem might keep reoccurring. Whereas if you were truthful and said, actually, it's because I keep doing this, whatever that thing is, that's, yeah, you learn it. And actually, okay, how do we solve that? Right, I need to get someone else in to do it, or I'm not going to go down that path, or whatever it is, to ensure that that
Exactly.
problem doesn't keep rearing its head. I love that.
Also, it's nice when you see how your business is making you develop better parts of your character as well, which also adds to like the positivity that you feel. When you do something and then it's 6 months later you realize you never do that thing anymore, and you're just like a much better person around people or to family, whatever. As well, that gives you a nice kick to keep you going because you're like, okay, cool, this is really beneficial to my life.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that's what we're all here for. Ultimately, is to do something beneficial with our times.
Yeah, completely. I love that actually the learnings you get for running a business aren't just about business. They're actually about yourself. And you learn
Yeah,
quite a lot about yourself. And if you can then become a better person in general within the world, because we're all just here just to, yeah, I say muddle through. We're here just to, be on
so
our
it's work. Yeah,
journey. Yeah. And actually, if you can learn some stuff, that's fantastic.
yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to finish off just with a short question of, and you did briefly cover this earlier, but what one bit of advice would you give to someone who is thinking of starting a business?
The one piece of advice I think to someone starting a business: make sure that it's something you like doing. Because if it's not something that you like doing, then there's always going to be bad days. And if you really don't like doing it, then the bad days are even worse. And that is just not a way to live. And yep.
Thank you
And
very much.
I'd also say not to get too emotionally involved in your business, because then the less emotionally involved you are, the more clear your decisions can be.
Yeah. Fantastic advice. I really enjoyed it. Well, look, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
It's been an
Thanks for
absolute
having
pleasure
me.
to have you on the show.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Balanced Ambition podcast. I genuinely hope the stories inspire you as much as they inspire me. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with a friend. And remember, by subscribing, you won't miss an episode, and it would truly mean the world to me. Stay balanced, and I'll see you next time.